and this is natural, even in my service, I will style before I even cut the bangs, okay? Because I can't necessarily judge where or gauge where my bangs are going to end until I style them and lay them out, all right? Okay, once I've got my hair back, then a lot of people make a mistake when they're going to go cut the bangs. They stand in front of their client, they bring the bangs out and they cut, okay? What that's going to do is when your client goes home to try to keep up with the style, when he goes to comb it back, because you stood in front, those hairs in the front are going to go straight out, okay? And it's not going to lay down. We want to actually stand behind our client. If we're standing behind our client, then we can gauge exactly where these bangs are going to finish. So all we're going to do is comb up and then bring them flat. We're going to lay our fingers like scissors, lay the hair on our middle finger, and pinch it with our pointer finger. Okay, and this is going to gauge how much volume we have in the front. Okay? And then once I've cut that guide, then I pretty much just take that guide and continue it all the way around for the rest of my band. Okay, now I will apply product. And just a rule of thumb for those of you who aren't familiar with using much product, normally what you want to do is you want to emulsify that product. So the majority of your products that are colored, as a rule of thumb, take that product, place it in your palm, emulsify it, or rub it together so your hands are nice and warm until that color disappears. Once that color disappears, then you can go in and apply that product. Okay? You don't necessarily want to add too much because all that's going to do is give you an extra 15 minutes to run to the sink bowl, wash your client out, redo everything that you just started, and it's going to extend your service and your day ultimately. So a little bit goes a long way. style, I will be using a bent brush. How many of you use a round brush to achieve this pompadour that's come over style? Now, the difference in between your bent brush and your round brush is that your round brush is going to eventually give you carpal tunnel, which we're fighting with on a daily basis that we do normally. So what this guy right here is going to do is it's going to save you on the left of that wrist movement. Okay? So 3 simple steps will give you the exact same look that that round brush will. Okay? That round brush will be your advantage if you come to curly, coarse, more dense hair that you have to straighten out, then by all means. That's what it was built for. But these little guys right here will save you world under wrist. So literally 3 simple steps. We're going to go in, pull back, rock up. No breaking of your wrist. Okay? So where I normally start in the style is I start at my client's natural callus, and I allow my client's hair to let me know where it wants to lay. Okay? Now, at this point, if I was changing my client's style, then I would advise him to let him know exactly what I'm doing. The reason being is because if I'm changing my client's style, I want him to keep up with this. We want all of our clients to get to the point when they come back into our salon and they sit in our chair, they say, do you. I'm so comfortable with you, you just go ahead and do the style that you want because I know you'll explain it to me if it's changing. Or if it's not, then I'm still comfortable with it. That's what we want our client for a super simple return service. So anytime that I'm going to change my client's hairstyle or do something different, I will definitely advise him and walk him through it. So that way when he goes home, it's easier for him to maintain. And then when he comes back, like I said, they feel that much more comfortable with us. Okay? So I would go to his natural callus and allow his hair to go the direction that he wants to go. From that point, I'm going to go back forward. Okay? And if this was a comb over, I would pretty much start on the side that he wants to comb it or style it to. So let's say, for example, he wants to comb it over to the right. What I'm going to start to do is create and build a wall. Alright? So pretty much on the left side of my client's hair is where I'm going to go in, pull back, and rock up. And once that little wall begins to create and establish itself, then I continue it all the way around and pretty much lay the bangs right on top of that, and that would be my comb over. Now, if it was a pompadour, we're taking this hair and we're going straight forward with it. Because in a sense, naturally, you want everything just to flow towards the center, and then that volume to come straight back up. Alright?
outside it. That's it. Holding spring? Was that holding spring? Yeah, I hear it. And what I'm actually using is the cold shot on my head, on my blow dryer. Because the cold shot will allow the hairspray to set. At this point, we're pretty much done with the side. So anything that we've left behind that we might jump back into the details, then we can go ahead and clean up at this point. Everybody get it? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So are we ready to pull a live model?
Yep. Can we get a volunteer to come up? Right, come on.
I want to go.
You want to go? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Two volunteers? I mean, you can go for it, Chad. You can go. Alright, so now for this portion of it, if you guys want to go ahead and stand up and get as close as possible, by all means, come on.
I said get as close as possible, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, please, just don't, nobody stand right here.
Alright, so what we're going to do is basically a light taste. I'm gonna come over on this side. Probably the gauge. So I'm gonna do one section so that you all can see, and then I'll turn them a little bit, and then I'll do this side so everyone here can see. All right. So once again, like I said, the most important thing is those balance points. Movements, exact same. Only thing that changes from surface to surface is the client's hair type and texture and the shape of their head. Cool? Okay. Now this is a real client, so I will be putting a real glove. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do is gauge where his occipital bone is. Okay, once I've found that occipital bone, then I'm going to know how to balance this taper. Okay? Now you guys are going to see that this taper that I'm going to do is actually going to play almost the same transition as that drop fade did. So the zero line that I will create will be almost a horseshoe shape. Okay, like I said, that zero line, that guide, original guide, that base that we draw, it's going to transition throughout this blend. So if we do it straight across, my taper will be straight across. If I give it more balance, it's actually going to compensate and play more to the shape of his head, or the lack thereof. Okay? So gauging where that occipital bone is, and the other balance points that I'm using, especially if I'm just staying with the taper, are the back of the ears. Okay? So whenever I, let's say for example, gauge and find that occipital bone, if it's a little lower, then I want to try to use the lower parts of the earlobe to finish my line. Okay? Because if I go above this occipital bone, then it's going to change the whole dimension of this haircut. Okay? So I want to try to keep it under that occipital bone. But if my client has a lower bone, then once again, I'm trying to keep the earlobes as my gauge point. Cool? Everybody see? Has a little bit of a horseshoe shape. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it underneath that occipital bone, so I wasn't able to exaggerate that horseshoe as much as I would like, but it would still transition throughout this blend. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my trimmer, and we're going to remove everything underneath. Now because it's going to be a skin, I don't necessarily have to do that trick that I showed you guys. I can just remove because ultimately it's going to be shaved down. Okay, now that that's done, and for those of you who are not familiar with this machine, I highly advise, if you're just trying to get used to it, to try to find the head blade that says sensitive. The difference in between these machines are the actual head on the foil. Okay, so you will see at the bottom it says super close, some say clean, some say just close. But the one that I would recommend for you to start with is sensitive. Okay? The difference in between them is the size of the holes in the foil. Alright? And for sensitive, the hole foils are a little bit larger, so it allows movement in the skin as you're passing it. The closer, super close, clean, super clean, those, the foils are a lot smaller. so the skin can actually pinch or it can irritate. So I highly recommend just for you to get used to it, get the hang of that machine, to start with the sensitive and then move closer and closer as you like.
Some customers can't take that at all.
Yes.
How do we determine which ones can handle it and which ones can't?
By the type of their skin. You can literally tell by the type of their skin how easily it can get irritated. By just you passing the trimmer, if you already see blotchiness or redness, they can't take it. Or it's as easy as just asking. Communication is key. So, you can basically just ask your client, hey, listen, normally we go with a taper with just the trimmer. Let's go a little bit tighter. Because it's the summertime, it's going to get hot. The closer that you get to your skin, your neck is an open pore. So you're going to be able to cool down and refresh a lot easier. It's also going to be a win-win for you as a stylist or a barber because the closer that you get to that skin, the faster the hair grows, the faster that they're back in your chair for return service. So it's a win-win. And then on contrast, in the wintertime, you can tell them, well, you know what, let's let it grow out a little bit. It's colder outside, so it'll keep you nice and warm if we're not going as tight and close that we did last summer. You know what I mean? And it gives your client just something to understand that you know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to hair. Okay, so as I'm passing this machine, I'm literally just passing it as if it were my clipper.
What's actually the time?
This is the trimmer.
I'm talking about the other part.
The trimmer.
Oh.
It's just that convenience and speed purposes. If you're at the shop, every 2 seconds that you're reaching back to pop a guard, to grab the trimmer, to grab a comb, to grab it. If you add all of those 1 or 2 minutes up at the end of the day, you spend 30 or 40 minutes reaching for things. So the easier and more convenient that you have things on you, the less that you're turning around, the less that you're reaching. That just makes the day move that much quicker and clients in and out that much faster. Obviously, I'm not saying shortcut your client out of a conversation, but you're still here instead of having to reach or think, because the more that you're reaching, even though you may know what you're doing exactly, your client gets that sense of doubt. Does that make sense? So the more that you're second guessing, like, oh, is that the 1? I'm on the 2, or I'm on the client's instantly feeling that. You don't have to say anything. And from that point forward, it makes this service that much harder and harder, because before you know it, now the client's cross-checking your work while they're in your chair. Mm-hmm. So they're looking at every other mirror, making sure you know what you're doing, and you're doing what you need to be doing, and it's just that much harder. So the more that you can exude that confidence, have things on you, ready to go, and you're prepared for every single service, the more comfortable your client feels, the more no doubt is in the air, and everything is that much smoother. And for those stylists that have not felt or tried any of these machines, I highly recommend at the end of this class, and I'm pretty sure my model would not mind, to go in the back and feel the back of his neck. And I can guarantee the world of difference that you'll feel from just a little stubble that the trimmer leaves to the smooth feel that the shaver leaves. Okay? So the next step that we're doing is I'm grabbing that 1/16, close. I'll open it and just pre-blend a little bit. Okay? Roll it around. Open it. Pre-blend. And what pre-blending basically is that weight line isn't as heavy as it was just a second ago. Okay? So the next thing that I'll use is no guard. And I normally start with my clipper open. Okay? What that's going to do is it's going to allow you, little by little, to see this line be removed. Alright? Now, personally, because I know the exact size of this line, close it and go one click down. Now I'm going to manipulate, and that's going to allow that line to open up. And literally, with just a couple flicks of this corner, That zero line's gone. That was that one. Alright. So right here, we'll lift. And remove that zero line. Okay? Now open it up to the half and just clean. Okay? So now the next size will be my 1.5. Open. Yes, I do, because when it comes to my transition and my blends, your blends will always be cleanest working from the bottom up. You can save yourself. Let's say, for example, this client comes in and says, they know exactly what they want. Hey, I want a 3 all the way around and just blow out the back and the sides. Or tape out the back and the sides. Okay. So you take the 3, you clean everything. You know from that point you don't have anything to do at the top, and then you clean the bottom. That you can do, because it'll save yourself, like I said. But in the end of the day, no matter what, your transitions are always smoothest working from the ground up. Okay. The next thing I will use is my normal blade. Because my normal blade, there are certain spots that it's almost, the fade blade is too detail oriented. So I need a little more of that bumper room. And because I just noticed that, I'll go ahead and I'll break it down because I saw someone probably pop the blade off and try to put it back on. So the main things that you're paying attention to when it comes to the removal and the put on of the blade. Alright, a lot of people look at these legs and they think they have to go into those silver lips, and they really don't. Okay? The main thing we're paying attention to is that bottom little lip. Once you see that tooth is even with the base, it pops in. Okay? The main way that you can tell is the blade will be off. Or when you turn it on, it's nice and quiet. If you didn't put it on, it'll be nice and loud. Alright? So right under this occipital bone, I have a little bit of a shadow. And there, we took that little shadow out. Alright? So the last thing that we have to do is just remove some weight, not too much, because we want this transition to be nice and smooth from this bulk to that little blend that we just did. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'll grab the 2, and I'll open it up, and I'll just take a little bit of weight out of here and a little bit of weight out of the other side. And it'll just balance everything out. You guys will also notice for the stylists in here, barbers are probably already used to and comfortable with them. This little guy right here is my magic eraser. Okay? What this is going to do is as I'm removing hair, it's getting all over the place. So the picture that I can paint you is just like an artist. When an artist is drawing and they drew a wrong line, when they erase it, what do they do with the clippings that are all over the paper? They brush it off. So this is our brush. So, as I'm removing clippings, I can easily get out of my way and see exactly where I'm at. Okay? Because when it comes to this shorter hair, it will literally, because we're dealing with so much precision, it will literally get in the way to where you feel like, oh, I have hair here. And you go in and you just took some out. So it's always good to keep it nice and clean. And I'm barely removing any hair, but it's making that much more of a difference for that transition. Okay, last but not least is the number that was in between that 2 and the first 1/16 that I started with, and that's my 1. Okay, so the next thing will be my line. So I'll go ahead and I'll line this side up so you guys can see, and then I'll line up the other side so everyone else can see. Rule of thumb that I personally use. Okay, when it comes to these perimeter lines, this is probably the most important thing in your haircut. Aside from that transition in that blend, you can do the best blend in the world. If you push any of these perimeter lines back, service out the door. No good no more. Okay? So, what I highly recommend is, if needed to, he has a good amount of clearance behind here, but let's say, for example, we have a client with a little larger of an ear. What I would do is I would fold right behind the ear, and that's going to allow my access to see that line. Okay? Now, the problem that I'm trying to address is that a lot of barbers and stylists have the issue of creating a line and going just a little bit further back, because it's that much sharper of alignment. The issue is when that new growth grows back, this client will never want that again. Okay? So we want to try to keep it as natural as possible, for the fact that, 1, when it grows back, the client won't mind, because it's just a nice cleanup. And for 2, it'll be that much easier to make a return service. So when this client comes back for a cleanup, I see exactly where that natural line is. I barely tap it, nice and smooth. But if I push it back, then I have to work that much harder to make everything all the way around. Because understand, when we do here, we got to do it over there. Okay? So, everything down. And my starting point is normally directly behind the ear. I tap behind the ear. That'll be my guide. Okay? From that guide, I go straight down, back to the guide, and rock up to the ear. Okay, so that's my guide. From there, we're just going straight down. And whether people ask, I know they have it in their mind. A lot of people are wondering, can zero gap these trims? Yes, you can, but I personally do not. And the reason being because I'm a barber, and my line work is not in this. My line work is in my razor. Okay, so I don't necessarily need the sharpest trimmer in the world. Now, there are clients that I do have that don't want the razor. They don't necessarily like the razor, or don't, because of previous history and past experiences in the past, they don't have anything to do with the razor. Okay, so for those, yes, you can zero gap these trimmers, and the way you can, popping the head blade off. There's 2 little elbows. Both of those little elbows, what you're going to do is you're going to apply even pressure with both fingers down. When you push down, you're going to notice the cutting blade pass the head blade. Hold it there for a second, and then release. It'll come back just a little bit, but once you got it right on the money, you're in. Okay? Now, the reason you can guarantee that this blade is not going to fall out is because those 2 prongs actually go in, so they hold the blade. Okay? Previously, we did have the legs where they came out, and there was somewhat of an issue. It wasn't that big of an issue, but we addressed it before it was an issue. Okay. Now, one thing that I want to make sure that you guys understand. Okay, we were breaking down motors earlier. 3 different types of motors. Both of our machines, trimmer and clipper, both utilize the rotary motor. Now, the difference in between the rotary motor and those other 2 motors that pivot and the coil motor is the way that they oscillate that blade. Alright? That pivot and the coil motor will oscillate that blade true, side to side. These rotary motors, they run in an oval. So what I mean is when you pop that blade off and you turn it on, you can see the motor. And it's spinning in an oval. So understand, when you go to zero gap that machine, one side will kick just a little bit higher than the other. So compensate for that. Okay? There's nothing that you can do because it's the motor. Alright? So understand that one side will always hit like money and the other one will be just a little off. Okay? Because of the way that the blade is oscillating. Make sense? Alright. So once again, back to the line. Once I've achieved that line, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to the top and the front of the ear. Now every single ear that your clients, every single one of your clients' ears are going to tell you a different story. I know it sounds crazy, but bear with me. Alright? So his ear is telling me to stop here. Okay? My ear will tell you to stop there. Everyone's ear will tell you a different story. So what I mean by rule of thumb is that's where it's telling me to stop. So I'm going to bring that line directly to that point. And stop. From that point, I'll let it go inside the ear, and pull down. And now, from that point it told me to stop, I can clean everything else. That much easier. And also what this is doing is it's guaranteeing that this line is as natural as possible. Okay? Now onto this line. And I'm only going to follow this step just because it's there. But this side is actually a perfect telltale. See what I mean? Naturally, this line is supposed to be here. Naturally, that's where his line is supposed to be. It's nice and sharp where it's at, but naturally that's where it's supposed to be. And what that's going to do is, I'm just giving you the real facts. What that's going to do is in about 5 to 10 years, it's going to push that natural line even further back. So before you know it, he's just balling everything out, fading everything out. He's either going with low fades or temp blends that are a little higher and tighter because of that. Because of that natural line being pushed so further back that when it comes time to actually grow, there's nothing there for it to grow. Okay, so once again, we'll fold the ear forward, draw that guide. From that guide, I'm going to go straight down. After I've gone straight down, I'm going to come right back up.
Did he have that same issue on the other side?
Yes, he did, but it wasn't as evident. As far as the new growth being seen, it wasn't as evident. But it was still there. I could definitely tell, because whenever you have people that you can almost, it's telltale that it's unnatural, because it's so sharp. That's more or less what you see.
So you're not going to cut into it.
I'm sorry?
You're not cutting back into that. I mean, what are you going to, like, if one side is one way and the other is one way, you're not going to cut into it like slant.
Personally, what would I do? I would shorten and blend that haircut. So, in a sense, I would, right now at this point, I would convince him to let's take the tape a little bit higher, or let's just do a drop fade for this time. Let it all grow evenly, new growth all at the same time, and then when it comes back, we'll put it naturally where it is. Okay? So only because we're probably at a time crunch and we'll probably start hearing music in a second, I'm going to run through this here and then give you guys just a little bit of trick towards the front. All right. And for those of you who are wondering, this, minus the beard, just the tape section, just the nape and the temporal lobe, this should take you at least 10 minutes. And that's start to finish. Literally, like we just blended this out, explained it, and went 5. So this, just the tape, like I said, minus the beard, just the temporal lobe, the nape, and the neck with that perimeter line, about 10 minutes. Super simple. Okay? So how many of those in here now have the luxury of a barber chair, a reclining barber chair? That actually leads to that. Everyone else have stylus and standstill chairs? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, for those that do have those standstill chairs, all you're going to do is you're going to ask your client at this point to slouch down a little bit, and then they'll just look straight up. But we have a barber chair. All right. So at this point, this is where the ladies are actually going to be in favor and probably get more tips if you have that standstill barber chair for that reason. But for the guys, what this is going to do right here is this is actually going to give you a much better vantage point. At the same time, allowing your client to relax. This is probably towards the end of the haircut is where we struggle and we battle with the mirror. Because the mirror is where we're cross-checking our work, but at the same time, we're trying to create that nice clean perimeter line. All right? So at this point of the haircut, where we were trying to create that perimeter, where are we at? We're right behind our client, holding his head still, making sure he doesn't move, going around, marking center, lining it around, double checking it, going around to this side, like that's crazy. You know what I mean? 12, 15 minutes just doing that. That's insane. So this is just an alternative route. All right? Much easier for me in my personal understanding, and as well for the client. Because the client is completely relaxed right now. They don't have to sit there super tense, making sure that they don't move because it may be their fault. Here they're just completely relaxed. At the same time, like I said, it's just making it easier for both parties. So, I don't, once again, have that luxury of that mirror. Okay? So, being at this standpoint, I can literally see the entrance, both of those boxes, so I don't necessarily get one nice and perfect and then go to the other side and candy cane or hook it and then have to go back and try to fix the other side. I don't have to deal with none of that. I can literally line up, mark, pow, I know exactly that I'm on point. So when my client goes to sit up, he's nice and boxed out. Make sense? Alright, so here we go. And this is a tip and a trick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some hairspray. Cover my client's eyes. Cold shot. And I'll do you one even better. How many people know what this is? Yes. Hair fibers. Okay? You're going to go to the side temporal lobe. Hit the card. Fill.
So you do the spray first and then that, or you do the fiber?
No, I do the fiber first. It just clicked to go ahead and show everybody. Okay? So I've sprayed both sides. Oh, I guess we'll go ahead and we'll run the video. What's that? Personally, no. Unless it's for show purpose. Like my natural clients? Huh? What?
No, I was saying you put the fibers before.
Before the hairspray.
Before you shave them.
Yeah.
Before you shave.
Oh, no. No, I always, I put the fibers before and then I'll do the line. Yeah. Okay, so because fibers are loose, you're going to have to use some type of a hairspray to lock them in. Okay, because if not, they'll just blow right off. Okay, and once again, I am stressing that this is show purposes. Because when it comes to actual skin treatments and, facial, actual shave services that you were going to fully charge price for, this is definitely not thrown into this at all whatsoever. This is literally for social media purposes only. All right. So, no, I do not do this for a normal, regular, let's say, for example, at the shop. I would not do this on a regular basis. Unless, like I said, somebody's going to, a wedding or, a special event or something like that, and they specifically either ask for it or, it just comes out of me to go ahead and do it because they have a picture real quick coming up. But aside from that, for skin purposes, this is literally probably the worst thing. Just me. But for show purposes, it's amazing. Like somebody will take a picture of this and be like, wow, that is probably the sharpest haircut I've ever seen. And that's the reason why. Okay, so being for the fact that he's laying down, where I'm going to start is right in the center, just as if he was standing up or sitting up. Never. Never.
I'm always setting up. Hey, the good thing is we can always convince this client that he's ahead of the trend. We'll just throw a card in there and kill it. Alright, so once I went ahead and I've created that zero guide, then I'll go ahead to the right, come back to my guide, go to the left. Okay? Any texture. The reason why is because of the fact that hairspray is actually going to freeze and lock the hair in place. So whenever I'm going and I'm applying the trimmer to create that nice sharp line, the hair isn't going to move. It's not free, so it's locked in place. And when I mark that line, that's where it's going to be.
What hairspray do you use? Makeup?
The one that I'm using is actually the Gibbs, but every and any hairspray naturally has alcohol in it. So the alcohol is actually what is setting in it.
Is it stretching the hair out when you comb it flat like that? Will it, does the hairspray stretch it out and then it will, when it gets wet, will it shrink back up?
No. When basically it's dry right now. So it's at its furthest point. That's the reason when I shot the hairspray, I put the blow dryer right behind it on a cool shot. So I kind of let it extend as far as it wanted, and then after I took the blow dryer away, it set. It's set where it's going to be.
Okay.
Do you lean after you go back?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's probably the most comfortable for both parties. So the main thing that I'll pay attention to, especially at this point, is my corners. So getting this center line to this corner, okay? And there it is. All right? So if I want to perfect it, I can actually stand. Big?
What made you be
Teaching. When I'm doing my education, it was kind of hard for myself to know for a fact that when I finish a perimeter, because I don't have anything to cross-check, and I'm trying to educate and show people this is how I do it, there's no way that I can guarantee myself that I'll be on every time. So there were times where I'd finish the class, and I'd even see it on some people's faces, like, you need to straighten that out a little bit. And for me, I'm like, oh, that's the worst thing, you know what I mean? So by cross-checking and going over different movements and the ways that I can change, I'm like, how can I change without bringing a mirror with me every single time? And this was the easiest that I could figure out. That also was a win-win for the client and myself. And this is also, like I said, sometimes even at shows, I don't have the luxury of a lean-back chair. I have a normal, regular chair that I have to cut out. So with that purpose, the same thing. That's how I came out with just having your client slouch down a little bit. If they look straight up, you're still directly above them. You can see exactly where all those lines are at. So it was all because of trial and error and things that I personally had to fail at for me to learn, oh, I guarantee this is the easiest thing for both parts. And I can put my name on it. Exactly. You'll be hard pressed to find a client that stays awake through the whole thing. That's going to be the hardest, which is a good thing, you know. And even I would probably say, whether you're noticing it or not, it's probably the most convenient when you're cutting kids. Because literally, if you have this reclining chair, you're literally just telling the kid to lay down. You know what I mean? Where instead, if they were sitting up, like, you know how hard you have to fight to keep your hand on their head to keep them straight, and like none of that has to happen. Now, the only thing that I'm trying to do right now is I'm going over his hairs because we didn't lower anything, we didn't take anything off, so I'm pretty much just fighting with the longer hairs to make sure everything's nice and squared off.
What's up with this bed? Is that a
And then
weed?
when I'm on this side, you can pretty much see the line already. But my rule of thumb when it comes to the corners of these boxes, you never want to push that box further outside than the outside of that brow. Okay, because then you're opening up that entire box and that's a no-no. Okay, so once I've gotten my front line, then I'm going to go ahead and tap both of the sides. Now this is something that's highly up to you, okay? I personally don't recommend every single client because the skin on your forehead is like the skin on the top of your hand, on the top of your foot, very sensitive. Okay, so especially when it comes to these sides, if you have a trimmer that is zero gap, do not tap these sides. You will leave a red line. Guaranteed. Okay? What's that? These side lines, right? If you have a trimmer that's zero gap, I don't recommend tapping on that because you're going to leave a red line.
held it work.
I would just go down. What do you mean? To like remove some of the hair? Just for the lineup? Oh yeah. No, it's gonna be the easiest side. No. Okay, so once I've gotten that boxed out, and I have the front done, then the only thing that I'm concerned about is just marking those corners. I don't have to go in and do and carve out the entire thing. I just want to mark them, okay?
What if you had a client with a beard as full as his, but he had a hole in it, like he's missing a whole patch? Would you just cut it off?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, if you had a client with a beard as full as his, and like he's missing a patch or so, would you cut it off or like?
Of course not.
What? So tell me what you would do.
I would definitely fill that either with hair fiber so you can kind of guesstimate where the line needs to be, or just blend it.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, he has a patch like right here towards the center. I would just blend down to where it's still full, because understanding when a man's beard is full, all that fullness comes from underneath.
The bottom.
It doesn't come from anything on top.
Okay.
So I would pretty much just blend down into all that length. And it still looks uniform, nice and clean, but it doesn't look blotchy and patchy. Now, let's say, for example, he didn't want to blend out at all, then I would fill in either with fibers, or I would try to recommend, if he wanted to color, just fill it in with color to make it look more uniform and natural.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my razor, and I personally recommend for those that do use straight razors, my favorite double-edged razor is the Prime. But I believe Darby has a premium, which is pretty okay. But I personally like using the Prime.
What is the difference that you see?
The Sharp.
The sharp.
Oh, that is money in the bank.
So those are sharper than Darby ones? 'Cause I use Darby.
The Darby premium. They're like a black and gold package, not the regular green.
Okay. So that's still Darby, but this is fine.
No, this is Dorco.
Okay. I didn't like it. That's fine. So, but you're saying these are sharp?
Yeah.
And yours?
Yeah. Here. And you'll see what I'm talking about. So I have not laid down any shave gel, any type of wet lotion to pass this razor. And once again, it is strictly for social media purposes. Now what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking off that excess that I just shaved down, so that way I can see where exactly my perimeter is. And what I'm doing is I'm manipulating, so I'm stretching the top right above the entrance of the hairline, just so I can get access to that. Okay. All right. And this is where all the magic happens. And because I just overheard that behind me, for those of you, honestly, in the end of the day, that are stylists and that are wanting to learn or wanting to go to school and learn about the razor, I'm going to give you the most blunt and raw answer, okay? They're not going to teach you nothing. They may at most pop in a DVD and let you watch it, and that's about it. So, in the end of the day, trial and error is your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
What about we learned 14 strokes?
That is the correct way. So the proper method is what they will show you. But as far as tension, pressure, feel, line work, placement, none of that. They will teach you the step-by-step basics and disinfection and what you need to sanitize and all of that. You'll go through 2 weeks of skin, so you'll learn the 7 layers of skin and all the proper stuff for that, as well as your stroke motions and where it needs to be. But once again, when it comes to real world application, you literally just saw the example. We did a mannequin and we did a model. And I guarantee if we poll or ask everyone in here, you guys learn more here than you did with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to do this side for everyone and then that side for everyone. Alright? So, one of the most important things that I can stress when shaving is manipulation. So, when you manipulate the skin, when I stretch, keep in mind, when I let go, it goes back. Okay? So, when I'm pulling and I'm pulling a nice sharp line, if I go too far with that line, when I release it, there it is. It's gone. I can't bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so always baby yourself. Always double check. Pull, let go. Pull, let go. Make sure you're there. Also, keep in mind, when you are passing the razor, the size of your razor and where you're at. Because you can literally go too far up, too far down. You can go places where the razor may take you where you do not personally want to go. Understand you're in the day, at the end of the day, you're in control. I do. Once again, I stress that in the beginning, that this is literally for social media purposes only. If this was an actual shave service, my shave service alone, minus the haircut, is $30. And that's a full shave, whether it's in the summer, it'll be a cold pack shave. So it's literally a process, and it's not just putting a razor on the face.
You say you told shave, you're not talking about the shave, you're talking about like a bald head.
No, I'm talking just shaving your face.
So just your face itself.
$30 for the process. Because it's actual, it's I'm going to put a hot towel on so I can open the pores. It's going to put the steam machine. I'm going to use products that actually cleanse the skin. It's a full facial, in a sense, with that shave. So you're getting treated at the same time that you're getting taken care of the surface. Yeah. It should be, honestly.
Where's your shop located?
I'm sorry?
Where's your shop located?
Sarasota, Florida.
Florida?
Mm-hmm. Teaching, yeah.
You got
no.
down there, it's a lot of haircuts like in certain areas, you don't have like the straight haircuts. I don't ask for them.
See, and that's another stigma. I get that a lot. I travel a lot. Trust me. So, I get a lot of people that tell me, oh, you know what? Matter of fact, especially in like the most random areas, like, we'll just say Montana. Oh, we don't do that around here. Why is that? Because you're the barber. You're the stylist. Like you're in the end of the day the person that gives your client the style. So if they're not doing that around here, it's because you're not educating them. Like literally, I'm up here being paid to educate you. When you're at your shop, they're paying you to educate them. But you don't really see that. Some people get the mindset like, well, I'm just servicing them, so get them in and out, in and out. Like, literally, in the end of the day, you're a therapist, you're a fashionista, you're a stylist, you're everything on top of just this haircut. So, all of that comes with it. As well, once you understand that position of power, then you know you are charging for that. And that comes with compensation. I mean, in the end of the day, when you have a problem with your car and you start it in the morning, do you call your doctor and ask him what happened to it? No, you call your mechanic and ask him what's going on with my car. You just fixed it yesterday and now it's tripping again. Right? Mm-hmm. So the same thing with your hair. When you have a problem with your hair or your haircut, you want your client to call you first, not to go to Walgreens and try to figure it out with a box. Or a machine or something that they can do on their own on YouTube. No.
What type of straight razor have?
Personally, this is just to show you guys that you can knock it out with the cheapest thing that you can find. Like literally, I want to say this is like $1.50, and it's not even for the holder. You're paying for a pack of razors that come with it. You know what I mean? So being completely honest, but personally, this is my baby. Okay, this is Johnny B's razor. The reason being is because it is head heavy, not handle heavy. Okay, when it comes to shaving, the rule of thumb, And basic instinct, if you have a heavy handle, naturally you have more weight in your hand behind. So when you're pulling, you're going to tend to pull stronger. Okay? And that's going to cause friction. And in razor shaving, friction causes cuts, which is no win. Alright? So you want head heavy, not handle heavy. Okay? The reason why I personally also like this one is because it's a butterfly style. So I like to project or expose the razor a little bit. And as well, I like the butterfly. So I like to open off. I'm just like showing off in a sense. You know what I mean? So if you're doing that with a slide razor, imagine that razor will kick out or the slide can fall out. Like I've literally been in the middle of a butterfly and the razor just... So it's not that cool, you know? So the butterfly, what it does is it actually locks and holds that razor. So it's a 3-piece. So this actually locks, it'll pull off, and these will open like a scissor, and then I'll apply the blade in the center, close it, and then lock it. So that razor is literally not going anywhere, no matter how much I throw it. On this razor that I'm holding in my hand, $10. Yes, seriously. No lie. I am a national educator for Johnny B and the creative director for Jared. Who's that? Oh, yeah. Al Socrates is my agent, who's the senior project manager for the brand. Yes, this is literally for social media purposes only. There is nothing that the hair fibers are going to do that are going to naturally or physically help the client's skin or hair. It just makes it look good. Yes, because it's a show machine. So it's literally like the icing on the cake. Would you buy a cake with bland or would you want icing? Oh, this is $5. Everything is literally $5 to $10 up to. At the end of the day, your services should not be lower than $30. And that's service, not products and nothing else on top.
If I wanted a hot top,
That's another $5. Every amenity is an extra $5. No, they don't. They don't. But I really explain it to them. And in the end, they don't care. Really don't. Because they know what's coming with the quality that's coming with it. So, you guys can see how clean and sharp that line got. Now, so I don't erase that line. You always want to come behind with a blow dryer and just kind of softly blow it, and all that excess will go, but that nice, sharp, clean line will stay for that social media picture. Okay? But keep in mind, all right, once I have cleaned, once I have taken that picture, all right, these pores are still wide open. We want to completely finish this surface. So we want to shock these pores closed with an alcohol-based content. Any aftershave, personally, I would recommend some type of a witch hazel. Witch hazel is a little lighter on the skin. It's more gentle. It's not as harsh as alcohol. You won't get that reaction like, ugh, when people, normally you hit them with alcohol. So, in a sense, that's necessary at the end of this service, regardless whether you're using a razor or if you're using a trimmer or a machine. In the end of the day, aside from hair, you're cutting skin. Okay, so all services are being opened up. All the pores are being opened up in every service. So to complete every service, we're shocking those pores closed. Make sense? Okay.
So what do you normally use when you're...
Personally, what I normally use is Johnny B shampoo paste. If it's just a quick shave, then I'm still using the original gel. Because of the fact that original gel does not contain alcohol and it contains lanolin, which lanolin is an active ingredient in it, and lanolin is a moisturizer found in all lotions. So it's literally going to moisturize and condition the skin as I'm passing, allow for a nice smooth glide for the razor, and then it dries up really quickly, and like I said, no alcohol. No, I do not. Because literally, like I said, what we're using here to create these sharp lines is the client's his own dead skin cells. So you can see there's nothing here, but when I stretch and I pass, that's dead skin. And that's what's creating that nice crisp sharp line. Another go-to that I can probably show you guys while I'm right here is, especially in men's haircuts and their appearance and their face. A lot of people don't understand, but a lot of our tiredness or our shadows come from right in the corner of our eyes. Okay? So when we're shaving, you see right here in this brow, right here on the socket of his eye, I'm going to go right to where his eyebrow is, right on the corner, and I'm going to lift. And you see everything that's right there on that cheek and what's somewhat left behind on my razor? All that darkness was shadowing his eye. So now, when he looks over, this eye is much brighter than this eye. And that simple detail will definitely be realized by your client when you sit him up. When he sits up and he sees all these sharp lines and this cleanliness and brightness, like, wow! And there comes the tips. Cool? All right. Me? 175. One person. Barber. Yes. Barber, clipper, razor. I know where I've come from when I first started out cutting. I didn't really respect crap. I didn't respect my shears. I didn't respect that side of the industry. I just knew barber and I knew I could kill a blend. You know what I mean? But then it took me to go do these shows, do classes, get in the industry to understand and respect the level of work that they have to put in with their shears. So that's where it's almost given me a better understanding and well-rounded educational class when I do present for stylists because I understand how much work they put in with their shears. So for them to be brought to the clipper side, I have to use terminology and things that they can relate to. So, like for example, when I was saying the point cutting, like that stylist, it clicks instantly. But barbers don't really get point cutting until you say, oh, well, I'm just using the corner machine to rock out. Oh, all right, that's what you're gonna say.
Right. It's a different terminology.
Oh, what? Why are you just using it just doesn't click. But once, you paint their picture, you paint a picture that they normally go through on a day-to-day basis. Where someone would ask them to, point cut their, oh, that makes so much sense. And it just, for some reason, it clicks. So everything from that point forward in the class, the stylist gets. You know what I mean? Where I would literally be fighting throughout the entire class to try to clean that terminology for them to get it. You know what I mean? Exactly. I'll be there forever. And sometimes, I understand you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. But I try to make sure that no matter what, everyone that comes to the class is going to get an understanding of something that's going to better their daily service. Pretty much. Shit, I think he was doing that class. I didn't know he was going to go to the barbershop, get cut, go out, go to the mall. I guess it's good we spoke facts today in class because you can go lay them down there like, oh, well, check this out. What I learned. All that.
So what did it take to be in this position?
It took a lot of work. I'm not even gonna lie. Because I literally, this is going on 11 years that I've been with Johnny B, and this is my finishing off my first year that I'm with Jared Rose. So from the beginning, I knew what it was to get into the hair industry and literally fight to get up on stage. Because when I broke the mold, I would say, the majority of the educators were really bland. Everybody looked the exact same. No matter what company they were working for, they all looked the same. And they were all talking the same thing. So I took it upon myself almost to make it my own mission to change this scenery. Because literally when we're at the shop, Like none of them are anywhere near any of our areas. You know what I mean? So, for how can I sit in on one of their classes and expect them to explain to me exactly how to lay out a blend when I'm watching them do a blend and they're murdering it. Like they're butchering that demo that they're supposed to be teaching right now. So my mission was to get on that side of it and just change everything. And that's literally what I did, but it took me 11 years. You know what I mean? All right, so at this point, we're completely lined up all over around. So we're just doing some detail work. So you'll see we have longer hairs because, like I said, we didn't lower anything, we didn't remove any hair. We literally just went around with a perimeter line. This would, just the front side, this would be considered a lineup. All right, so those longer hairs, I'm going to use the smaller tooth side on my comb, and I'm just going to clean those longer hairs. No, if it's just a line.